My name is Linda Greenwood. Right here, I'm driving one of my brother Ralph's tractors in the Roseneath tractor pull. It's an old Minneapolis Moline and is part of Ralph's collection. He also owns about 35 other Molines, maybe more. I've lost count. It's a bit of an obsession.
I'm Grant Greenwood, Ralph's younger brother. Well, that is my grandfather's tractor. And that's as far back as I can remember. He had a tractor, and that was it.
All I need is the key. And you pulled the clutch, right? My great-grandfather and my grandfather, they were custom thrashers, and they thrashed with steam engines. In the late 40s and the very early 50s, everybody was getting a tractor to replace a team of horses. Somehow we got to fit John Stone into it because he came to work with grandfather when he was 18 years old, and everybody said he'll only last 2 days, and they became the best of friends. 1940, John decided that he would go with a gas tractor, so that was when he decided on a Moline. So in the spring of 1940, John Stone, grandfather our George Morton, and Lyle Lowry went to Waterloo and drove his tractor home along number 2 highway with a top speed of 12 miles an hour, going through every town, which took them 2 days. It's a slow trip. Well, see, grandfather, he still had the steam engine. And so in the fall when they were heading out to thrash, grandfather started up the steam engine, headed out to 35 highway, just got to the highway, the packing blew out of the old boiler on the steam engine again, you lose all the water, you shovel the sand in and put the fire out so you don't melt the iron. And I guess he went back, talked to John, phoned Waterloo, and they had a tractor up there and they shipped it into Peterborough for him. He came in, he bought a Model Z tractor, which was roughly about a 32 horsepower tractor and would pull about the same as your team of horses would pull. And uncover Father's old tractor.
And so the next tractor to come live with us belonged to our dad. And of course, it was a Minneapolis Moline, specifically in this case, the ZA.
I think the only time this one got rolled was when our younger brother Brian was bringing it home one night. Put it in high gear coming out the driveway, hit the clutch, and it jumped too hard and went across the road and flipped into the ditch.
I would almost tell people I spent my formative years on the ZA. Dad bought that when I think I would have been 5 at the time we got the tractor. And I drove it ever since then, up until the time I left home to go to university.
When you're a kid on the farm, there was always sort of that little, whose dad has the best tractor? And it was always discussions about the advantages of one make over the other. Well, they got a Massey, and we got a Moline, and they thought their Massey's better than our Moline.
The collection began when a friend of my brother, Archie McLaren, proposed starting an antique tractor club. Ralph still had both Dad and Grandpa's tractors ferreted away somewhere, and well, it just kind of grew from there. These days, Ralph and Grant and some other members of our family take their tractors around to local fall fairs to compete in something called a tractor pull.
You've got this sled here, and there's a big block of metal away at the back end. The further you pull it, the further that big weight comes ahead, and it puts more and more and more weight and makes it harder and harder to pull. So the farther you go, the harder it gets.
I just have to say I'm here to have fun and be part of the family. It's become kind of a family thing. My nephew's here as well.
Ever since I was little, when I've seen I come out to watch my grandpa pull and my great uncle, and I've always wanted to pull. And I don't know, always thought it was cool. Like, not a lot of people that are my age, and I live in Oshawa, so not a lot of city kids get to drive tractors.
Well, Ethan's my grandson. And he would come out to our house up the road there, and I had 2 or 3 of these tractors in the garage. So he would go out and he'd look at them and he'd climb up on them and sit on them there. And then we'd come down here and look at the tractors in the barn here, and he'd get up and sit on every one of them. And he was just in his heyday. He knew the names of the tractors. He'd say, "Where's the ZT? Where's the ZB? It's not in the garage now. Where's that?"
Oh, likely I have between 30 and 35, but there's likely at least 25 running or better, without doing a count. And then we have our works in progress. I'm beginning to think I shouldn't buy any more projects. The projects may outlive me.